Yes, you read that title right. Something really interesting is happening with the Dodgers right now, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what's happening on the baseball field because Dodgers fans just watched Mark Walter sell the Lakers for a reported $12.5 billion dollars. And now people are starting to ask a pretty uncomfortable question. Could the Dodgers be next? And if that happens, there's one player in particular who could have a very unusual decision to make, Shohei Ohtani. Now, before everybody starts freaking out, let's make this very clear. There's no Dodgers sale happening right now. The title is a little bit of clickbait, but it is very relevant to what's going on. Dodgers president Stan Kasten has specifically said the team is not for sale. There's no process underway to sell the franchise, and that the Lakers situation has nothing to do with the Dodgers. So we're not sitting here saying Mark Walter is selling the Dodgers. He's not. But the reason this is still worth talking about is because of what happens if he ever does, because Shohei Ohtani's contract has one of the most interesting clauses we've ever seen in a baseball contract. When Ohtani signed with the Dodgers, he agreed to a 10-year, $700 million contract. Obviously, everybody remembers that. It's one of the biggest contracts in sports history. But buried inside that contract is something that most fans probably weren't thinking about when he signed it. Ohtani has what's essentially a key man clause. If Mark Walter is no longer the Dodgers' controlling owner, or if Andrew Friedman is no longer running the baseball operations, Ohtani can opt out of the remainder of his contract. Think about that for a second. The Dodgers could theoretically have Ohtani under contract through 2033, and if ownership or baseball leadership that he agreed to play for changes dramatically, he has an escape route. That's pretty crazy in the grand scheme of things, and this is why the Mark Walter situation matters. Walter has been the guy at the center of this Dodgers organization since 2012, and under his ownership, they've won multiple World Series. They've become baseball's biggest spender. They've built one of the deepest organizations in the sport, in all of sports, to be honest, and perhaps most importantly, they've created the environment that convinced Ohtani to come to Los Angeles in the first place. So if Walter ever leaves, you're not just talking about a different person signing the checks, you could potentially be talking about a completely different vision for the franchise. And that's exactly why Ohtani's contract gives him the ability to walk away. But here's where things get even more interesting, because the Lakers sale is what started all of this speculation that's going on right now. Mark Walter was the controlling owner of the Lakers, and that ownership stake was recently sold in a massive deal involving Bob Iger and Joshua Kushner. And naturally, people started asking if Walter's willing to sell the Lakers, could he eventually sell the Dodgers too? That's where Dodgers fans started getting nervous, because the Dodgers aren't some random investment. They're arguably Walter's crown jewel. The franchise has reportedly climbed to around a $9 billion valuation, and under Walter's leadership, they've become one of the most successful teams in baseball. So there are two very different possibilities here. One, Walter sells the Lakers because that was a unique situation, keeps the Dodgers, and nothing changes. That's what the Dodgers are saying right now. But like, if he was looking to sell the team or anything like that, I mean, it's not going to get out yet. He just sold the Lakers. So if he was looking to move on, in my opinion, I think he's not going to do everything all at once, but it could be something that he's interested in, which is point two. At some point down the road, Walter decides to sell the Dodgers, and that's where things get really interesting. Because if the Dodgers were sold, you'd have to wonder what happens to Andrew Friedman. Friedman is arguably just as important to this Dodgers dynasty as anybody. He's the architect of this roster. He's the guy who built the organization into the machine that it is today. And Ohtani's clause reportedly covers him too. So if Walter leaves or Friedman leaves, Ohtani potentially has an avenue to opt out. That's why the LA Times described Walter and Friedman as essentially the two people whose continued presence could be tied directly to Ohtani's future in Los Angeles. And honestly, that makes perfect sense when you think about it. Ohtani didn't just choose the Dodgers because they offered him $700 million. He chose the organization. He chose the baseball infrastructure. He chose the people running it. He chose Los Angeles. And apparently he wanted some protection in case the organization he agreed to changed dramatically. And I mean, that clause, they don't put that clause in the contract there for no reason. Now, obviously, this is an exaggeration, right? We have to pump the brakes a little bit, because some reports have suggested that Ohtani probably wouldn't actually exercise the clause, even if Walter sold the Dodgers. There's reporting from league sources that Ohtani is unlikely to opt out solely because of a change in ownership. So even though that clause exists, that doesn't mean Ohtani would automatically walk away. Like, I mean, it's an important distinction. He can opt out. That doesn't mean he will. And that doesn't mean it's even possible right now, because they still have to sell the team. But this is like big news, because the owner did just sell the Lakers. And if this opt-out became a thing in the future, and any player that has an opt-out, it always becomes a big thing, right? If Ohtani's still playing at the level he is, I mean, could he get more money in the future? I mean, the Dodgers are in a pretty good spot right now, but you never know what could happen. So the fact that a player like Ohtani, who just signed a $700 million contract, could have the potential to opt out of a deal in the future, I mean, that's big news to me, in my opinion. This is maybe the greatest baseball player we've ever seen. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean he will. And honestly, I think that's probably the most reasonable way to look at this. If the Dodgers were sold to another ownership group that was just as committed to winning, kept Friedman, kept the front office, kept spending, and basically continued running the organization the same way, why would Ohtani necessarily want to leave? He wouldn't. This isn't a situation where the Angels gave him $700 million at the start, and they're not winning. The Dodgers are winning. The Dodgers are a great organization. They're about to be on the cusp of a three-peat. They're very big favorites this year. So yeah, I mean, he's in Los Angeles. He's playing for one of the best organizations in baseball. He's getting paid enough money. He's got a chance to win championships, which seems like every single year. But yeah, I mean, what if the new owner is completely different? That's where I think this clause becomes really important. Imagine Mark Walter sells the Dodgers to somebody who says, we're not spending $400 million anymore, or we're going to cut payroll, or, we don't need Andrew Friedman. But yeah, I mean, if they get a new owner, what if the new owner is completely different? And every owner in baseball operates differently, and the Dodgers are the best at doing it right now. And this just brings up a possibility in the future for something to change, and I think that's worth talking about. But yeah, as of right now, the Dodgers are not being sold. But if we start hearing rumors about it, this is something that's going to come up. This big opt out in his contract that he has if the ownership changes. So I think this is something that we could look at in a couple years, and it could become a big story for Shohei Ohtani. But right now, he's still a Dodger. Everything's fine right now. But the Lakers sale definitely opened a door that Dodgers fans probably weren't thinking about before. I didn't even know that this clause existed in his contract. But for now, they're spending enormous amounts of money. They're winning championships. I'm sure the Dodgers fans watching this video are going to hate me for even trying to talk about this. But it is a very interesting thing that I think could come up in a couple years. But yeah, we'll see what happens. There's no indication that he's trying to leave. But if he does end up selling the Dodgers, then I think he'll have a decision in the future, which is insane for someone under a 10-year, $700 million contract. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. If Mark Walter ever sold the Dodgers, do you think Ohtani would actually opt out, or do you think he'd stay in Los Angeles regardless? Right now, everything looks great, but obviously that could change. Ownership changes down the line. If he has an opt-out, that would definitely be the biggest story in baseball if he continues to play like Shohei Ohtani does. So we'll see what happens, but just wanted to make a video to cover this topic because I think this could be something big in the future if the Dodgers were ever to get sold. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.